Yes, Charleston White is correct. I'm a rapper, not a dealer. Be sure to catch my new show, 50 Cent, 50 Ways to Catch You.
See that Meech Home concert got the streets talking. The biggest Meech Home, the streets back, that's what I'm talking about. That's how real niggas come home and get it down. 50, who own your masters? Who own your masters? I buy your masters. You better. I will buy your masters.
50 Cent just straight up clowned Big Meech after word spread that Rick Ross might have scammed him out of a $120 million deal. Ross was out here promising blockbuster movies, huge projects, and a Hollywood glow-up for Meech, but in reality, nothing ever came through. Now, Meech is left looking broke, while 50 laughs and flips his name into a running joke all over the industry. Fans are even wilding, saying the only way this drama ends is with Meech stepping into a boxing ring with 50. Imagine that, Meech versus 50, headline of the century. But let's rewind and break down how this messy saga even started. After Big Meech tried to leave the streets behind and reinvent himself, he thought a massive comeback was on the horizon. That's when Rick Ross swooped in with all these over-the-top promises. $120 million film projects, documentaries, and deals that sounded bigger than life itself. Ross was talking so big, you'd think Meech was about to walk straight into a Marvel-sized payday. Here's the clip where Ross made those promises, loud and crystal clear. He wasn't even whispering, he was flexing like he already had studios cutting checks. On paper, it looked like Meech was finally about to cash in on his legendary name. But the truth? Ross never delivered a single thing. Instead, it looks like he used Meech's legacy as a pawn to flex on 50 Cent.
I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino, it's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big, I can feel it.
His longtime rival, who's never been shy about throwing shots right back. While Ross was dangling movie dreams and chasing clout, 50 was actually the one putting up real bread. He bankrolled the BMF series, paid for Lil Meech's acting classes, and gave him the stage to shine. Those are real receipts. Ross just smoke and mirrors. And it wasn't only 50 saying this, people close to him backed it up too. Tony Yayo himself broke it down, making it clear who really did the heavy lifting. And now, the word on the street is that Big Meech is straight up frustrated, broke, and waking up to the cold truth that Rick Ross only linked with him just to take slick shots at 50 Cent. That's the part that stings the most, because instead of leveling up like a boss, Meech is out here looking like a pawn in another man's chess game. But the fake promises, that was only the warm-up. Things hit a whole new level of messy once Meech's own son got thrown in the mix. Lil Meech was caught on camera hanging out with Ross at the club, and that's where the drama started spiraling out of control. Just days earlier, leaked texts had supposedly shown Lil Meech saying F Ross. Then boom, he's suddenly spotted right next to him, chilling like nothing ever happened. Fans were confused. The streets were buzzing like, make it make sense. The video instantly went viral, cameras flashing, the room lit up red, and there's Lil Meech and Rick Ross shoulder to shoulder. They're whispering in each other's ears, posing for pics, grinning like old friends while the whole world is watching. It was a complete plot twist that had everybody scratching their heads. And of course, you know, 50 Cent wasn't about to let that slide. He jumped online and fired off one of his legendary troll shots. He joked that Ross told Lil Meech to hand over his dad's address so he could send some wings over from Wingstop. But that Wingstop joke, that wasn't just shade, it was a coded shot. 50 was basically saying, Ross isn't really helping Meech build an empire. He's just feeding him scraps like a side order of fries. And if you thought that was savage, wait until you hear the bomb 50 dropped about Lil Meech. Out of nowhere, he posted and later deleted a wild claim that he personally had to step in and send Lil Meech to rehab.
February 13th, the Big Meech Home benefit concert. It's gonna be iconic. Too many names to list, but let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Boss Man D-Lo, 21 Savage, Sexy Red, Ricky Rose. Now, this the first time it's ever been done. me performing BMF with the icon himself. This shit gonna be special.
Epic.
Get your tickets right now.
I'm back.
According to 50, Meech was showing up to the BMF set completely lit. So lit that he even threw up during a weapons test. Then when they checked his truck, they found whippets stuffed inside. 50 even admitted he didn't know what whippets were at first. He had to Google it. And he painted the whole thing like he was the responsible one stepping in, trying to save Lil Meech from crashing out, while his own father was out here co-signing the same reckless habits. And it's not like this was just talk. Lil Meech really made headlines for getting himself arrested at an airport. That right there tells you everything about the type of chaos he was spiraling into. So once 50 put all that out in the open, people started whispering, was 50 the one who actually saved Lil Meech's career from falling apart? But then the real twist came because folks couldn't understand why, after all that, Meech seemed to be siding with Ross instead of showing love to 50. That's when another voice jumped into the mix and made it 10 times messier. Michael Rainey Jr. Y'all know him as Tariq from Power. And when a fan asked him live if he felt bad for Lil Meech, he didn't play it safe. That clip of Michael Rainey Jr. going savage spread like wildfire, and guess who couldn't resist reposting it with a laugh? Yep, 50 Cent. He doubled down hard, literally echoing Michael's words in his own caption, making it crystal clear he was riding with his power star all the way. It wasn't just a repost, it was a stamp of approval, adding more fuel to the narrative that 50 thinks Lil Meech is soft and not built for this. The timing couldn't have been worse for Meech, because it made him look like he was losing respect, not just from fans, but from everyone orbiting around 50's empire. But here's the thing. This tension didn't just appear overnight. It had been brewing since Big Meech's so-called Welcome Back concert.
I'm gonna address this, because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor, always with me.
When Meech came home, the streets expected fireworks, a major celebration stacked with rap heavyweights. It was supposed to be a historic night. But instead of keeping 50 Cent, the man who turned his story into a TV empire, front and center, Meech leaned on Rick Ross to push the event. There's even a clip floating around of Ross hyping it up like it was going to be the most legendary comeback concert ever. But that big move, total disaster. The show never even happened. Promoters bailed, the hype collapsed, and all that promise went straight down the drain. For 50, that flop was the final straw. He took it as pure disrespect. After all the work he put into the BMF show, after elevating Lil Meech's career, being sidelined for Ross was unforgivable. That's when 50 turned ice cold, accusing Meech of cutting backroom deals with the feds and dragging him all over the internet. And the craziest part, pairing up with Ross only made the fallout 10 times worse. To the streets, it looked like Meech traded loyalty for clout, and 50 wasted no time stamping that idea as fact with his non-stop trolling posts. Instead of a legendary comeback moment, that so-called concert became the turning point where people stopped writing for Big Meech. The narrative flipped overnight, and suddenly, Meech wasn't looking like a boss anymore. He was looking like someone fumbling his own legacy.
You took a picture with Rick Ross. Put your back against the wall and just slide down.
And that's when Meech finally decided to clap back. Out of nowhere, he dropped an old picture of him and 50 standing side by side. But with one huge twist, he slapped a giant rat emoji right over 50's face. That wasn't subtle at all. It was a direct shot calling 50 a snitch. And if that wasn't enough, he doubled down in the caption, labeling 50 an internet gangster. Basically, Meech was saying all 50 does is hide behind his phone, trolling from the sidelines instead of being about real action. Ross, of course, couldn't resist piling on too. He jumped in right away, mocking 50 for being pressed about their new link-up. Fans saw it instantly as a tag team move, Ross co-signing Meech just to poke the bear even harder. The trolling turned into a spectacle, with Ross hyping Meech like he just recruited him into his anti-50 squad. And then came the clip everyone's talking about. Ross flat out clowning 50, laughing at how mad he was about Meech standing right next to him, making it clear this was more than friendship. This was alliance against their common enemy. But people couldn't help noticing the irony. 50 Cent was the one who actually gave Lil Meech real opportunities, acting classes, TV roles, steady checks, while Ross only offered flashy photo ops and empty promises.
I feel bad for Lil Meech. I don't feel bad for no grown man on this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too. What you asking for my sympathy for? You be alright. Oh, ass.
Yet somehow, Meech seemed more eager to ride with Ross than the man who built his platform. That strange loyalty shift had everybody scratching their heads, and it only fueled the next wild rumor that Meech wanted to fight 50 for real. After the rat post stunt and Ross's trolling, the internet went into overdrive, spreading talk of a celebrity boxing match between 50 and Big Meech himself. Some fans thought it was hilarious, others thought it was straight up sad. Meech, once a feared name in the streets, now being reduced to boxing for validation like a reality TV gimmick. But what really set the rumor off wasn't the memes, it was Meech himself. When asked if he'd ever swing back at 50, he hinted that he'd lace up gloves if it came down to it. Even if he said it half joking, the internet didn't care. It ran with it like wildfire. And you already know, once boxing talk hits the blogs, the story spreads faster than anything else. Suddenly, people were speculating on ticket sales, pay-per-view numbers, and who'd actually win if fists started flying. But just as the fight chatter started boiling hot, Wack 100 stepped into the conversation. And that's when things really flipped. Wack claimed this beef wasn't just about loyalty or Ross, but about buried secrets. According to him, Meech's own confidant Tammy Cowan once confided to 50 that Meech had actually conspired with federal authorities in other street cases. Wack 100's bombshell hit like a grenade. If what he said was true, then this whole beef wasn't just petty internet trolling. It was about exposing a secret that could rewrite Big Meech's legacy forever. Wack didn't sugarcoat it either. He claimed flat out that Tammy Cowan, someone trusted deep in Meech's circle, once told 50 directly that Meech had worked with federal authorities in other street cases. That type of allegation, it's the one thing a street legend can't outrun. The timing of Wack's claim made it even nastier. Just when Meech was already taking hits online, being called broke, clowned for the failed concert, mocked for riding with Ross, now this whisper of cooperation with the feds surfaced. To the streets, that's like a scarlet letter. And once that seed is planted, it's nearly impossible to erase. Suddenly, the conversation shifted. People weren't just debating about boxing matches or Instagram posts anymore. They were asking if Meech's whole reputation had been built on a lie. 50 didn't even need to say much at first. The internet did the job for him. Memes started popping up, people dragged old interviews, and some even questioned if Meech's soft approach toward Ross was tied to keeping certain people quiet. For a man who once symbolized loyalty and silence, just the suggestion of working with the feds was enough to shake the room. And of course, Ross jumped in again, spinning it like 50 was just desperate to ruin Meech's name. But to fans watching the circus, it was deeper than trolling now. It felt like real cracks forming in a myth that had stood untouched for years. In other words, Wack was flat out hinting that Big Meech wasn't as loyal to the streets as people believed, and that's where 50's whole snitch narrative really came from. Wack didn't pump the brakes either. He claimed Tammy might have had her own motives for turning on Meech, either because she felt abandoned when he got locked up, or because she was sick of him trying to snatch back his life rights. Remember, those rights had already been negotiated with 50 for the BMF series. That detail made the story sting even more because it suggested this wasn't just betrayal, it was business gone ugly. And if there was any truth to it, that would put Meech in a dangerous corner. Imagine the person closest to you, the one who knows all your secrets, being the same person feeding your enemy ammo to use against you. Wack even spelled it out, saying Tammy might have been sliding info directly into 50's lap the entire time. That claim alone had fans wide-eyed, because if 50's shots were coming from inside Meech's own circle, then the whole empire wasn't crumbling from outside. It was rotting from within. But whether Wack was spilling real facts or just stirring the pot for attention, one thing was clear. It gave 50 even more fuel to keep clowning, and fans wasted no time jumping back in with jokes and memes. One of the biggest moments came when Big Meech popped out in public rocking Kanye West's iconic graduation jacket. On the surface, it looked like just another flex fit, but people instantly clocked the symbolism. Was Meech trying to signal he'd graduated out of the street code, or was he just poking fun at the snitch narrative that wouldn't leave him alone? That graduation jacket wasn't just a flex, it was a message. Fans immediately pointed out that's the same Kanye album that outsold 50 back in their infamous 2007 sales battle. Some laughed it off like a funny coincidence, but others swore Meech rocked it on purpose, as a slick way of poking at old wounds and clowning a former ally who once stood beside him. Either way, it sent shockwaves because it looked like Meech was leaning into 50's biggest loss just to stir the pot even more. But what stood out most wasn't the jacket. It was 50's silence. Normally, Curtis Jackson is the first one to screenshot a goofy pose or flame a fit online. This time, nothing. Not a post, not a meme, not even a petty caption. And that's exactly why people started whispering that 50 was holding back on purpose, saving his ammo for something bigger. Because when 50 skips an easy roast, it usually means he's loading up a heavier shot. And when he finally lets it fly, it hits like a nuke. At this point, it's crystal clear. This isn't just trolling anymore. 50 has locked in on Big Meech like it's a personal obsession. Most beefs fade away after a few weeks, but with Meech, every single move sparks another response. Some say 50 feels betrayed. He put Lil Meech on, gave him the platform, only to watch him cozy up to Rick Ross, his sworn rival. Others say it's deeper, that for 50, it's about power and dominance. He doesn't just want to win, he wants to crush anyone who dares cross him. Letting Meech slide would look weak, and that's one thing 50 Cent has never allowed. And if this feud ever jumps from Instagram comments to an actual boxing ring, it won't just be entertainment, it'll be the final chapter in a war that's already gone way too far. One man fighting to protect his legacy, the other trying to destroy it for laughs. And judging by the way this is unfolding, it looks less like rumors and more like the next explosive move is already locked in. So what do you think? Will Big Meech finally swing back, or is 50 about to end this story his way? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around to see what's about to pop off in our hood next.